So hi everybody, welcome to podcast 9 from Old Head and
Young Shoulders.
And number 9, we were talking about growth earlier on in podcast 8. This podcast is a bit different actually, and this podcast I think we need a slight change of tone because you had a very moving message the other day, didn't you, Cam? And that's what's given us the idea for this podcast.
Yeah.
Do you mind reading out the message that you got then?
Certainly. So on Instagram, I can't remember what day it was, maybe Monday. Okay, here it was, Monday. I received on Instagram, hi Cameron, I don't mean to dampen the mood, but my nan just passed away a few hours ago and I'm very upset and have a mock exam coming up soon. Do you have any advice on what to do because I'm a mess right now?
So first of all, I hope that young person is okay. I hope they're safe, and I hope they're talking to people who are really well equipped to support and help them. And I think that would be my overall message. You know, Cam and I, we talk about different topics we've got a passion for. With a topic like this, with death, yes, we can give you our perspective of it, and we'll do that. But my takeaway from this podcast would be you needn't be on your own. It's dangerous. If you're grieving, if you are hurting, if you are in a mess, talk to people. And there are well-qualified people out there. I'll give you a phone number later on during the podcast.
Maybe if you have somebody or know of that phone number or company,
well,
then maybe do let me know, because we could put it in the description and stuff. So if you guys want that information, then head over to the description side. It'll be on our website as well, and they can also get the links and stuff from there.
Well, I mentioned there are people out there who can help you. Let me show you this. I'm doing some work with Winston's Wish. They're a wonderful charity. They're based in Cheltenham, but they've got centres around the country. They've set up a centre at Grenfell. They're working with young people from Grenfell. So this is a charity dedicated to helping young people who've been bereaved. They might have lost a parent, something like that. There's a helpline, 0808888 020 021. I'll show that up there like that, so you can see that. So that's the helpline number. So to the person who messaged you, to the person who's in a mess, just pick up the phone if you want. Give Winston's Wish a ring. There will be somebody there who can talk you through all of this. So that will be my sort of takeaway message.
Should we put it up?
But we'll put that there, Winston's Wish.
Just put it over a little bit on your side.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what. Let's put it that way round, and then you can have the
number.
The number.
Okay. Does that look alright,
Knock in
Dave?
the microphone.
How's that looking, guys?
I can read it, yeah.
That's good.
Okay, no problem.
So pick up the phone and ring. You're not on your own. But I think if that young person wanted to hear what our take is on this, you could start with the 5 stages of grief. It is natural. That person who is hurt, who is in a bad place at the moment, that is natural. And they talk about the 5 stages of grief that one goes through.
Okay.
The first one is denial. You refuse to accept that this has happened, that this person has died. You then move beyond denial into anger. You feel you are just angry about it. You want somebody to pay for this. You're an angry young person. The third thing that happens then is you move towards bargaining. Oh, if only I'd done this, if I'd done that, that might have been different. That kind of bargaining. The fourth stage that you then go through is depression. If you have lost somebody that you love deeply, and you and I both have, it's okay to feel depressed about it. It's a natural stage to go through. Hopefully, with the right support, you'll move through that depression and you reach the 5th and final stage of the grieving process, which is acceptance. You'll never get over it, but you'll live your life accepting that this has happened, that person has died, and in some way you reach an accommodation. You accept that it's happened and you move forward. So there are different models of the grieving cycle. Some talk about 5 stages, but those are some people talk about 7 stages, the 5 stages. That I think that works well.
And it might work well in an ideal world. But let me ask you a question. Like this student said, they got mocks coming up.
Yeah.
And majority of people, when they experience somebody close to them dying, they still got other responsibilities.
They have.
They got kids, they got their job, they got other things, mock exams, things going on. So I can still see how those 5 steps will still be applicable.
Yeah.
But it could possibly take longer.
If I'm a young person in a mess, then how is that going to help me? But I would say the most important thing for that young person who messaged you is talk to somebody. You're in a school, talk to a member of staff. Doesn't have to be your tutor. I would hope that there'll be a member of staff in that school who you connect with. They're there for you. Doesn't have to be a teacher. We've got wonderful support staff in school. There will be somebody with whom you have a connection. Be open, be honest, tell them. Because only when you tell somebody that, that I applaud that person who's messaged you, well done. Now do the next stage and make sure the school knows as well. When you're working through the grief, they say it's very helpful to have a companion, to have somebody you can talk to about it. Might be a family member, might be a professional, but it's a difficult journey on your own. So that young person, find a companion in the school, somebody who will work. And there are some practical things that the school can do. Mocks coming up, well, might they feel better if they were in a quiet room somewhere? The exam board, if it was a real exam, could put special arrangements in place. You could have a special room somewhere where you sit the exam. We can make allowances. You're hurting, you're in a mess. We'll look after you. If they're in a half decent school, they will be looked after. They will be cared for.
And I think that is so important, not just in school, but in everything. Because let's cast back when I was in year 11 and my nan passed away.
Yeah.
And as for the majority of you guys, I was basically living with my nan. She was the world to me. Obviously, I don't have a relationship with my mum. So my nan was kind of the person who was my mother for at least 5 years.
Yeah.
And one thing I failed to do around that time was talk to people. So we talk about anger, but I also talk about avoiding.
Yes.
So I was avoiding the situation. What was number one?
Well, that's denial.
Yeah, denial.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's say it's denial. So my denial and anger both was the same kind of thing, if that makes sense. I was avoiding it, but I was then expressing how I felt through anger.
Yeah.
Anger towards my dad, anger towards the teachers, anger towards literally everybody. And because of that, we talk about closed-minded and stuff. I just wasn't willing to listen. I thought like I knew everything, but I just expressed anger in literally everything I did. And that really affected my year 11. When the truth is, okay, behind closed doors, I'd cry my eyes out. But the truth is, if I told people how I really felt at that time, instead of putting on this persona like I don't care, I don't care about anything, then I may approach year 11, the next couple of years, completely differently. And maybe I wouldn't have made the mistakes or do some of the things I was doing.
Well, Cam, well done for being so honest about it, because I remember it. I remember you then. This is a message for teachers. If you've got students who are behaving badly, there is always a reason. There aren't bad people out there. There are people behaving badly, and there is always a reason. That's a bit glib. There aren't bad people out there, but you know what I mean. We knew that there was a good lad there in Cameron Parker. We knew it.
Sorry, I just had to do that.
But we didn't find out the reason why. So there's something about being a good listener and being a good talker as well.
But then at the same time, it's difficult, and maybe that's what some students feel is because I knew it. There was 200 kids in my year group, and I say nobody's interested in what I'm going through and what I'm doing. So it's quite easy to hide and shy away from things and just be quiet, because let's be honest, if there's a teacher in a room full of 25 people, it's hard just to get to each individual person. And everyone's going through their own personal battles or struggles, whether it is death or whether it's something maybe, I wouldn't say not as serious, but maybe it's another challenge somebody's going through. It's hard to spend time with every single one of them, but at the same time, if you are like this student, if you are going through something, talk to somebody. Maybe they're not aware of it, or maybe they can't pick it up first time in just a passing conversation. But I'm sure as soon as you talk to somebody about it, they will give you that time.
Be open, be honest. And this is this person's nan who's died, so there'll be family involved.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering what conversations are going on at home. And in it, there are similarities here because my mum died when I was little. This is one reason why I'm working with the Winston's Wish.
I didn't know that.
My mum died when I was 4, and for a couple of years I lived with my grandmother. Wow. And she became a very special person from then on. And I remember when she died. So there's something here around talk it through with a family, talk it through with school, make sure family is talking to school. And then if you are helped, if you've got a companion, if you're helped to come to terms with this, you do eventually. I mean, our nans both died, and they were always going to. That's what happens. There is a cycle of life and death, and that's
kind of a beautiful thing of
how
life
it is.
as well.
It's a kind of a beautiful thing. And did your nan believe in certain things?
Yeah, she was believed in God as far as I'm aware.
Do you find yourself trying to keep alive her things, her beliefs?
Not necessarily God so much, but then I kind of do as well. It's bizarre. So I don't feel like she was particularly religious, but she did believe in God, and I guess I do. I'm unsure, but I do have some type of belief that there might be something there.
It's about values. I bet your nan had a set of values as well.
Oh, 100%.
Absolutely. So you try and keep those alive. My nan, I can remember
100%.
I can remember my nan. She had a little rhyme which was two people looked out through prison bars. One saw mud, the other stars.
Yeah.
And I just think, hey, she was so right. Now I'm going to try and be a person who always sees the stars, not the mud. I'm going to be an optimist, not a pessimist. So you try and keep alive that person's memories, that person's values. So I don't know how much this is helping that young person who's out there now grieving. We've given you some specific advice. Short term, there's a helpline number there. Talk to the school, talk to family. Longer term, there's a way of using this for good.
So we didn't discuss this before actually shooting this podcast, so do let me know if you don't want to. But when you was 4 and you lost your mother, how did you feel at that time? Obviously you were very young, so your memory probably, I don't know, your memory might have been spot on because it was such a big thing. And how did you come to terms with it? Did it affect you? Did it hold you back? And then with that, building a love and trust with your nan. But then, when did she pass away? How old was you when she passed away?
Oh, I was about 50. She lived to be 102.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, awesome.
That's incredible.
Awesome.
So then, how was that relationship? Like, talk me through it. So as a 4-year-old, losing your mum.
Well, you see, as a 4-year-old, and there's almost a guilt here, I can hardly remember her. I have some photographic memories, and I suspect that it didn't at the time make a big impact on me. It had a huge impact on my dad, and it had a huge impact on my elder sister, but of the whole family, it affected me the least.
How old was your sister?
She would have been about 10.
10, okay.
So I feel that I've been this is one thing that Winston's Wish do. Winston's Wish show young people that there might be a death, there might be a bereavement. It's a horrible, terrible thing, but you can still go on and lead a happy and fulfilled life, and that's what I've done. I count my blessings. So that's my mother's death. My nan's death is, I was in a very different place then, and that was a natural event. 102, it's what happens. Yeah. It's we've never actually read anything, but in a podcast like this, and it might seem a bit pretentious, but I was reading something purely by chance the other day. Matt Haig. Have you ever read any Matt Haig?
Who is Matt Haig?
Matt Haig is an author.
Obviously.
That's it. That's his novel. That's his novel.
It's a novel, okay.
How to Stop Time. Can I read you a paragraph? Because I think it's.
Go ahead.
I think it's really good. And if this doesn't work in the podcast, then you can blame me.
Well, it's our podcast. We do what we want.
Okay.
Tell them.
Sitting comfortably. People you love never die. That's what OHYS had said all those years ago. And he was right. They don't die, not completely. They live in your mind the way they always lived inside you. You keep their light alive. If you remember them well enough, they can still guide you, like the shine of a long extinguished star that could guide ships in unfamiliar waters. If you stop mourning them and start listening to them, they still have the power to change your life. They can, in short, be salvation.
Wow.
Now, I read that and I thought, that is genius. That is just wonderful.
Do you think
so
you
my
can...
my nan guides me like a star guides a ship. Your nan, I'm sure, is still there, a presence behind you. So grief is a terrible thing, and I hope the young person out there who is hurting finds their way through it. But keep the faith; it'll be all right.
And yeah, do you think you can type that up and maybe we can put that onto our website as well and put it
just
maybe into the description of this video? Because I think that's very true. And there's some people in life though as well who haven't experienced somebody dying yet, and they will. But I think the advice and ideas you shared is very important and also crucial. And I think just another thing is just understand, even if you got mocks and things coming up, understand that it's okay to be upset.
Absolutely it is.
It's okay to cry. Because if you hold that in as much as you can, at some point in your life, you will express it. And at one time in your life, it will catch up. And I think one kind of big point of getting over it is talking about it, is crying, is breaking down.
Absolutely.
And there was a few times I remember especially when my nan died, was kind of when my dad phoned me on the day to say that she passed. Actually, she's passed away. We knew it was coming on that day, but actually hearing that it's just happened I completely broke down then. And then a couple weeks after that, I was obviously not in a good place, but I was okay. But then the next bit was when I seen her. It was kind of denial again, but another bit when it really hit me was when I seen her getting carried into the church at the time in Gloucester. And that was one of the bits, again, it really hit me and I really broke down from it. And I just wish I did more crying and more breaking down around that time, and maybe talking to people.
There are too many young men out there who don't do that. We know that there are too many young men out there who feel they've got to keep everything bottled up and not show their emotions, and it's very unhealthy. So let it out there. Be honest. Be open.
But it's also about not just we're talking about suppressing ourselves, but also do stuff to relieve that stress.
Thank you, Cam. That's
relieve
good.
that stuff. Maybe that is actually punching a punch bag. Maybe that is going out for a walk, going on a bike ride. Maybe that is playing a sport, doing something to express yourself in other ways. It's not just saying you need to sit down and talk about it. Do things.
Well, you've got what they haven't, which is life. So go out and honour the fact that you've got this life. You've got to make your life count. That person has gone. They haven't got life anymore. The least you can do is make your own life matter as much as possible. And we're talking grief. This sounds a bit left field, but it's perfectly possible to grieve deeply for an animal as well. I've been hugely upset by the death of a dog, death of a cat. So you've got young people who might not have experienced death yet. If they own a pet, they will experience it soon.
And you know what? It's funny you say that, because when I always used to see people put on social media, they're heartbroken, I used to be like, come on, it's only a dog. Get over it. But now I actually have a dog. I'm being honest. I don't want to lie to people. But now actually I have a dog, and I say to myself, you know what? When she dies, I think I'm actually going to be upset.
In an earlier podcast, you said be kind to people. Everybody's fighting their own battle.
That's true.
So it might be an animal, but it can cause grief just as deep as the death of a relative.
It comes down to being I was closed-minded again of when I
Absolutely.
used to think like
Yeah.
that. So it just gives you a
Yeah.
different perspective.
Sure.
And I think being obviously a father, being married, all these different things, I'm gaining a lot more experience in different areas I'm not necessarily used to.
This is why it's so exciting. This is what life is all about. It gets better and better and better and better if you're lucky, if you make your own luck as well. But let's wrap this up. To the young person out there who's hurting, I'm deeply sorry for your loss. Our condolences from Cam and myself. I hope you found this useful in some way. If I could sum up, talk to people. There's a helpline there. You might want to talk to family. You might want to talk to school, but you're not on your own. So go through, accept that being upset is all part of the process, and you can work through this in the short, the medium, and the longer term.
Yeah, and I'll put all the information in the description on our website and things like that as well. So make sure you do check that out, because we'll put the links and things like that there, and also the little bit from the book as well, because I think that's a good thing to take away.
Cam's doing his nan proud now. I'd like to think I'm doing my nan proud.
You are.
And I hope that you out there, you'll go on, you'll get through this, and you'll make your nan proud as well.
Let's wrap this up.
So let's wrap this up. So thanks for listening, everybody. And remember 2 things. Always work hard.
And be nice. That's episode 9.
Thanks, guys.